Ciao a tutti, come state? I hope you're having a great day, great weekend, hopefully coming up, great life in general. Great things are going to happen. If not, don't worry, just wait it out. Everything will be fine. So today, in this episode, I want to talk about my favorite podcast in Italian. So, the first one I'm going to be talking about is specifically for learning Italian, but the other ones are just in Italian. So now the first podcast is called Coffee Break Italian. Coffee Break Italian, this is one of my favorite series when it comes to learning a language out of like the other, podcasts or, shows that I watched. This one's really my favorite. So it starts at a beginner level and then it slowly gets harder. So like right now I would say the episodes are more for beginners and intermediate learners. And so you start with things like how to order food, how to book a hotel, talk about the weather, those kind of topics, and then it, slowly gets harder, more advanced. Not necessarily harder. Talk about more topics. So you have the teacher, who's there, usually Mark, he's a Scottish guy, and then you have a student like you learning along, and they have native speakers too in the episode, and I think it's really beneficial for those of you who are just starting out or really just kind of want to add to your knowledge. So the next podcast is in Italian. My favorite, Morgana. Morgana talks about important women in history. They upload an episode every month. So this month they were talking about Shirley Temple. Not just about, her as a child actor, but how she started and then the rest of her life on until her death. And it's just, I think it's really interesting. I learned a lot that I didn't know about Shirley Temple. So it talks about, each month it talks about important women in history from all over the world. And they're usually about, I want to say they're around 30 minutes long. I'm not exactly sure. Don't remember. And then the next podcast is called Bistori. Bistori is about history. So I really like history, which is why I like the podcast. It talks about important figures in history. And not just ancient history. There's some, people from World War II. Kind of goes through all spectrums. All over the world too. People from everywhere. Really great. They're about, I want to say 22 minutes, like on the dot. I don't know though. But they're in that range. And then the next podcast is called G Dahlia. G Dahlia, I would say, talks more about technology, current events, people, and new gadgets, what's going on. It's interesting. I haven't listened to it recently or that often just because their episodes are usually longer. Some of them can be over an hour. Don't always have that time. Or some topics, like they usually talk about like multiple topics in one, and sometimes if one comes up and I'm not interested in it, I tend to zone out. And yeah, but I think it's really interesting just to keep along with current events, what's going on in Italy and other countries. So if you're into that sort of thing, definitely recommend checking it out. Next and final podcast that we'll be talking about is called Sinel. I think that's how you pronounce it. So it's about topics of psychology. And in my point of view, like, there are topics too that, like, I didn't really realize were, like, related to psychology, So things that can be involved in your everyday life if you think about it. And there are other topics too that are just kind of orientated more like textbook, like psychology textbook topics, And it can be very interesting too. Even if you're really not into psychology, you might learn something new or something that might be helpful. So I recommend checking these out. And they're all found on Spotify. So you can watch them for free. Super great, super helpful. Maybe while you're commuting to work, on a train, on a bus, in the car. Really working out can kind of easy to fit in to with your everyday life without always setting aside time just for listening. So hopefully this episode helped you out a bit. If you like it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're into learning languages, traveling, be sure to check out my channel for more content. Subscribe if you want. And I will catch you guys all on the flip side. Ciao.